product marketing or product management teams and the content teams. So she's in charge of all of the content that you see and all of also the new things that are coming. And right now, you are seeing she just got the presentation up and going. And again, sorry for the delay. But today, quickly, in our half an hour, she's going to go in and we'll cover all of what's new for back to school on TenMarks. We've done a bunch of new things. You will see things from a student perspective and a teacher perspective. At the end of the session, we will be doing a Q&A. And at that point in time, you can actually, at any point in time, feel free to look in the questions portion of your control panel for GoToWebinar, and feel free to post questions at any point in time. When we get to the end of the session at 1:30, we will go ahead and open it up for Q&A and start to answer your questions that have been coming in all throughout. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to Mira. Again, please feel free to submit questions along the way, and we'll have Mira start.
Thank you, Bethany. All right, I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes or so talking you through all of the new features and all of the new functionality that we've introduced with this back-to-school release on TenMarks Math and on TenMarks Math Teach. This entire presentation is sort of organized along three main themes, the first of which is engage and motivate students. One of the things we've been working very hard on is how do we drive the program or craft the program in such a way that it continues to engage students and to motivate them to become masters in math. So the first thing I want to start with is immediate feedback, and this is one of the biggest changes that we have made to our program. And this is as a result of hearing from so many teachers and students in the last year. And everybody told us that they weren't sure whether or not students had learned as they were doing the assignments. They found that students were completing the whole assignment, often without knowing whether or not they had made mistakes along the way. So we heard you, and that's the theme for much of what you're about to see today. As most of you know, there's been a lot of research in education and game science that shows that students learn better and retain more when they receive immediate feedback. So now in TenMarks, as soon as students complete one problem and submit their response, they know whether they're right or wrong. And especially when they're wrong, they can see the explanation to the problem and not only see the solution, but also see how to solve that problem. They are, again, prompted to watch the video if they didn't watch it prior to solving the problem. And of course, there's always the hints that are available to them, both during the problem-solving process and after the problem-solving process. So this is a big, big change for those of you who are used to students having to go through 10 problems completely from start to finish before they know how they've performed on the assignment. We want to hear how this is working out with your students, so we will wait eagerly for your feedback as you use TenMarks Math this year. The next aspect is student ownership of learning. In a move to help students own their learning, what we've done is introduced all new monsters, and each of these monsters has their own backstory that we're sure that students will enjoy. Now, students can clearly tell what work has been assigned by the teacher, so this is in the Your Class Work section, and what work they've been assigned as part of the TenMarks differentiation process. So they're clearly demarcated. You'll see that there are these arrows at the right of my screen that show you that there's more work to the right of this panel. And when there's work that's past due, they will appear to the left of this panel. What we heard from both teachers and students is that they didn't want to be distracted by past due work. So what we've done is make it still present in the carousel, but not right up front and center, so they can focus on what's immediately due. Next up is the is a subtle yet important change in how we're dealing with assignments that generate an amplifier. Now, this aspect of the product is primarily for our premium customers, and the amplifier is a adaptive intervention that's assigned to students who score 70% or less on an assignment. Now, students have come back and told us that they don't always understand why an amplifier and a do-over have been assigned to them. They don't make that connection that the reason they've been assigned an amplifier is because they didn't perform well on the initial assignment. So what we've done is we've brought everything together in a unified package. So every time a student sees an amplifier in their carousel, they're going to be brought back to this assignment summary screen where they can see how they performed on the initial assessment, where they can start their amplifier or continue progress on it. And then once the amplifier is complete, work on the do-over. Again, another small change in how do-overs are assigned. Previously, you may have noticed that students will get a complete worksheet of 10 or 20 questions in their do-over. We've made a small change here where students only have to attempt the questions that they did not get graded as correct on. So for this particular assignment on my screenshot, the student will only get 7 questions in their do-over assignment. I showed this to my daughter, who has been working on TenMarks for the last couple of years, and she's thrilled to not have to repeat the types of questions that she previously performed well on, and I'm hopeful that your students will love it too. Finally, in the theme of engage and motivate students, we've added a point system. Students now earn points for every assignment they complete, and this includes right answers, partially correct answers, hints they've used, videos they've watched, as well as amplifiers, and of course the do-over. A little later in this presentation, I'll tell you how students use the points they've earned. Now let's shift focus to something for you, the teacher. So one of the things that we introduced in November of 2014 is a product called TenMarks Math Teach, which some of you might already be familiar with. Now, this is a complete instructional planning solution that we introduced. And this year, with Back to School, we have complete coverage for all standards in grades 1 through 8, with Algebra 1 coming later this year. So each one of these comprehensive resources, and you can see 5 on your screen here for 4th grade under Operations and Algebraic Thinking, each of these comprehensive resources has been thoroughly researched by our team of educators here and brings you a 360-degree view of every standard. So you no longer have to spend hours researching and vetting resources that you might find online or in books to understand the context of every standard. What we've done is to pull all of that for you together in one comprehensive resource, and you'll see how this resource was built over the next few slides. So first up, want to know what the learning objectives and prerequisites are for any given standard? Well, this tree-like structure does exactly just that in a succinct way. So the roots of the tree will tell you what standards come before 6NS8. So 6NS8 here is the focus standard. So you can see what specific concepts from these 3 prerequisites students need to have mastered for them to have a successful lesson on 6NS8. And the branches that you see up here have the learning objectives. So these are the I CAN statements that you might use as part of your in-classroom action plan with your students. Another part of the resource is the assess readiness. Now, this is a standalone problem that you can use in your classroom to assess how ready students are for the particular lesson that you're about to embark on. What you see at left here are a series of prompts, each with responses where we're able to provide them. On a way for you to engage with students to understand where you need to start your warm-up before you jump into the main lesson. And there's more in this resource. So here we have a page for student misconceptions. Now, every teacher I've ever met or observed in a classroom has to handle students with varying levels of proficiency, and that includes misconceptions. So this page in TenMarks Math Teach includes the most common mistakes students typically make when solving problems in a particular concept. And whenever possible, as you can see here, we've included samples of student work so you can visualize the exact types of mistakes you may see in your classroom. Now you may ask, how does this help? So teachers who've used this resource in the last year tell us that they feel empowered walking into a classroom armed with this information, because as soon as they see something similar occur in the classroom, it makes for a great teaching moment. One more piece in TenMarks Math Teach that I want to focus on before we return to TenMarks Math is the focus lesson. Now, each one of our standards-based resources includes anywhere from 4 to 6 or 8 lessons, again, depending on the meatiness of the standard. And you can use these lessons are structured in such a way that they build gradually on the concept. So just like the assess readiness page, we've crafted scaffolded prompts, which you see here at left, that you can use with your students. Now, the nifty thing about the focus lessons is that they're animated. So as you check off the questions to the left here, you can see, and I don't have it here in this presentation, but in this particular case, these points will animate as I check through these questions. Now you can use this either for prep, or you can use it to engage your students in a lively classroom discussion. Jumping back into TenMarks Math, now that you have all the resources that you need for instruction, what I want to do is to walk you through some of the changes that we've made in TenMarks Math to make it easy for you to use all year long. First, you'll see that we no longer have any albums. Why? Because you told us they were very rigid and made it difficult for you to arrange the tracks to match your teaching sequence. So lo and behold, we've made it easy for you to find and organize the tracks into units or modules. So you can see them here at the left. This is a demo account that we've set up so you can see that see how I've organized these tracks into units. So when you set up your accounts, you will have noticed that there was a gray panel that suggested that you pull out your school's pacing guide and align and build these units to align to that scope and sequence. So when you click the Add Content panel, this little panel here at right that says grade 4 with all of the tracks pops up, and what you can do is you can add all of them to your curriculum, or you can sort of navigate through by using this little search box here and find the topics that fit into each of these units. Now, it's really very simple. To set up your units, you can set up one unit to start with and then build as you go, or you can get organized for the whole year all at the same time. It's totally up to you. Lastly, we have improvements in the program to reinforce and intervene. So once you've created your units, making assignments is as simple as one click, really. Again, you asked for an easier way to create assignments, and we listened. Set your defaults. So all you'll do is click this Set Up Assign Now, and a little window will pop up and ask you to set up your default settings for an assignment. Now, any of you who has an Amazon Prime account will know what I'm talking about. You just set it up with the credit card, the address to ship, and all you do is one click to make your purchases. In the same way, there's just one click and you've made your settings, and all year long, all you have to do is to click the assignment to assign it to your students just after you've taught it in class. For those of you who want a little bit more flexibility and want to tailor assignments for your students, don't worry, we've added new features there as well. Now you can view the different question types for each assignment. So you see this little panel here, it shows you that there's 3 different types of questions. Now what you can do if as you review the question types is you can eliminate one or more of them from your assignment because perhaps your students aren't ready for it yet, or perhaps they're not challenging enough for your students. And over the course of the school year, we'll be introducing more ways for you to tailor the assignments, but for now, we've introduced the selection for by question type. Lastly, I want to talk about jam sessions. This is another feature we've added because we've heard from so many of you that you wanted some visibility into what jam skills your students were practicing. that makes complete sense. So what we've done is we've added a way for you to quickly visualize the types of questions that students will see in each skill. So you can click this button here that says generate another question, and you can see more variety in the types of questions your students will get. And all you have to do is to jump from skill to skill to see the types of fluency questions we'll be generating for your students. When you signed in, you will have noticed that the menu options in TenMarks have changed. So it's a much more streamlined, simplified menu. And under the work section, you'll have noticed that there's a tab called individual work. Now, this is because we heard from so many of you that you didn't have an easy way to see what work was on each student's plate. So now all you have to do is to use this navigation up here to jump from one student to another, and you can see the amount of work that's in their plates. So what you see up here is what you've assigned them, and what you see in the personal work section is what has been assigned to the students because of assessments or assignment-based recommendations that TenMarks has made to them. And you can easily add tracks to their personal work area by clicking this Add Tracks button. See. Lastly, I want to loop back into points and talk a little bit about how they work. So I told you earlier that students will earn points for all the work they do on TenMarks. All the work, hints, videos, amplifiers, do-overs. How do they use these points? Now, they can redeem them for game time. The more work they do, the more points they earn, and the more game time they get. So as always, though, you have the ability to turn games off completely, but don't fear, we've limited the amount of time they can play to 30 minutes a day. So this student has 513 points, and when they try to buy game time on Banana Jungle, it tells them that they need 1,600 points for 10 minutes of game time. So they redeem for 10 minutes at a time. And so it's going to tell them that they need to do more work to get more points so they can play Banana Jungle. So that's all of the changes, or at least the highlights of our back-to-school version of TenMarks. I hope you're as excited about it as we are. We hope to hear from you. We want all of the comments, the good, the bad, the funny, the ugly. It's these stories that help us stay on our toes and stay connected to you and to your students. So in the time that we've got left, we'll take some questions, and I believe Bethany has some questions from you already.
Hi, Mira. Okay. First question that we got is TenMarks an app?
The TenMarks app? Yes. So we have an app for both the for the iOS device. So it's a student app. We've got one for iOS, and we have one for Android and one for Kindle as well. On our website, when you go to the systems requirement page, you will be able to see what versions of those devices we support. As those of you know, the problems on our site are rather meaty and require a lot of screen space, so they're best on a larger mobile device than on a telephone.
Okay, next up, Mira. Is there a way to see if students use hints or videos on the assignment?
Absolutely. You can see how many hints and videos your students have used in several places. But the most important of them is the assignment report. So when you go into the assignment report, you'll be able to see student by student how much time they spent on the assignment, but you'll also be able to see how many hints they used and how many videos they watched for that whole assignment.
Okay, next up is, are you still offering a free version of TenMarks?
Absolutely. So this presentation was meant for all of our returning customers, free and premium. So there was a little bit for free, there was a little bit for premium, but absolutely we are still offering a free version of TenMarks, and it gives you all of the resources that you are accustomed to having from us. So as a free teacher, you'll be able to set up an account and you'll have access to all of the tracks for one grade level plus some amount of customization from other grade levels. As far as TenMarks Math Teach is concerned, you have access to 4 lessons in up to 3 grades.
Okay, next up is since students are told if they got the question right or wrong immediately, then that eliminates the need for them to go back and correct their work, correct?
That's correct. And what we're going to do is to wait to hear from you about how well this is working. And we'll wait to get feedback from students and teachers all over the country and continue to make improvements to the program so that it continues to foster student learning. I think that the immediate feedback is a great way to reinforce that failure is okay. It's sort of what helps us learn what mistakes we've made. And we're hopeful that students will use our detailed explanations to understand how they made the mistake, as well as give them a little bit of background information on the concept itself and how to solve problems successfully in the future.
When you were referring to standards, are these the Common Core standards?
Yes. So our program is TenMarks Math Teach has standards-based resources for the Common Core standards. And on TenMarks Math, we support both the Virginia state standards and the Common Core math standards.
Next up, does TenMarks have an initial placement test for the program?
Yes, yes and no. The free version of TenMarks does not have a placement test. However, on the premium version of TenMarks, teachers do use our grade level assessments both at the beginning, at the end, and at the end of the year to benchmark how their students are performing.
Next up, how well does TenMarks work with Canvas elements?
Great question. This year with our back to school release, one of the things we did was a clever integration to the student information systems. So for our premium customers, they're able to sign up with Clever and very easily set up accounts on TenMarks Math. Over the course of the year, we are planning to offer a single sign-on with Clever, or instant login, as some of you may know it. And what this instant login will do is also provision instant login with Canvas. So it's not something we offer yet, but definitely something we're working on our roadmap, so stay tuned.
Next up, is Math Teach a part of TenMarks or is it a separate purchase?
TenMarks Math Teach, when you sign up for a free account on TenMarks, you have access to both products, both to TenMarks Math and to TenMarks Math Teach, and you'll see a little icon, which is your avatar at the top right of your screen, which offers you a way to toggle between the two. TenMarks Math Teach is priced separately, and you can reach out to info@tenmarks.com for what school or district level pricing for the two products looks like.
Okay, next up is, do you recommend using the previous year's assessment as the initial assessment, i.e. use third grade for the beginning of fourth grade?
We've heard from teachers that they use it in a variety of ways. I think it largely depends on your students and where you believe they stand. Obviously, we want them to feel good about themselves. We want them to feel, like they can solve problems, and but at the same time, you need to assess sort of where the gaps are. So I would say, depending on the proficiency level of the students and what you've heard from the teachers from whose classes they came, you can make the choice to either give them the prior year assessment, so you know how much review work you need to do in the first few weeks of school before you jump into your current year's curriculum.
Next up is a question on what is the recommendation for introducing TenMarks to a new group of students? And I will actually say that we've just added to our help desk and we'll be emailing out a link to 45-minute and 90-minute introductions for TenMarks Math to students. So you would be able to see proposed lesson planning for how you might do that introduction.
And I believe there's also a video on how students should, can use TenMarks just to.
The video is actually coming, Mira. With all of the new interface, we've been a little bit slower in getting our videos up.
Got
So
it.
it'll be coming in the next week or so.
No problem.
And I think right now we had one other question, but I'm waiting to see an answer back on that one. But otherwise, I actually think we answered all of the questions. So at this point, we are at 1:30, and we kept it in our half an hour time frame. Wanted to thank everybody. We will be sending out a link to the recording, and we have 10-minute webinars Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week. So feel free to check on the website to see what we will be covering on the other days, and we look forward to having you join us. Thanks so much, everyone.